Is it just me, or does anyone else feel that the month of July should actually be renamed the horror slash gore month? Because the lineup of horror slash gory movies this year is just, ugh, chef's kiss. So much joy. What's up, y'all? This is Preet's Perspective with me, Preetha. So, this review is gonna be somewhat of a trifecta because I'll be talking about not one, not two, but three movies released this month, which is filled with horror, blood, gore, violence, everything you can ask for, honestly. It's kind of the reason why my hair is also red, if you know what I mean. So, let's start by first talking about this action thriller released called Kill. It's a Hindi language action thriller directed by Nikhil Nagesh Bhatt, and it's distributed by Lionsgate and produced by Dharma Productions and Sakya Entertainment. So the story revolves around an NSG commando who boards a train with an intention to propose to his love and win over her family, but the journey kind of becomes derailed when a bunch of dacoits enter the train in order to rob it. What follows next is this visceral and gory action thriller which just takes you on a roller coaster of a ride. Honestly, when I went in for this film, I went in with zero expectations because action and Bollywood equals to, at least like 99% of the time, it equals to physics just dying in a corner and, well, Newton questioning his existence. So sad. But honestly, when I went in for Kill, I did not expect the amount of accuracy it had in its action sequences. It is compacted, it is closeted in this train set, and as I was looking at the making of the set, I was surprised to see the amount of detail that actually went into making the train, reproducing those vibrations you feel when the train is moving, and how easily accessible the train set was. You could instantly remove pieces in order to maneuver the camera, in order to capture every action moment. Honestly, for the first half of the movie, you feel like you're warming up because it's being introduced as a very cheesy romance, kind of action romance film with the love story between our hero and the heroine. But then by the time you hit the 1 hour mark, there is a switch that turns on. And once that switch is turned on, the film instantly goes into fifth gear, not even second gear, fifth gear. And the amount of violence, the amount of action sequences you get to see is just amazing. You know, it's kind of like that moment in Knives Out when the scene goes that the coin is flipped and the genre instantly changes. And so this moment in the movie is just like that. It's like a switch turning on and your hero just goes berserk. And speaking about our hero, watch out for the performances by Laksh and Raghav as the villain, because you honestly kind of root for them. You root for their emotional side. You can see what they're going through. And when I say that, I'm saying that not only for the hero, I'm saying that for the villain as well, because even the dacoits, you kind of see that they are from a less fortunate background and they kind of belong to a have-not community. And when you see them losing their family, losing all of their cousins, they are given that space to mourn, which was something really surprising to see, because usually when you see villains in an action thriller, they're cold, they're manipulative, they are insanely psychopathic. But in this case, all those traits are there for the villain, but at the same time, he's also given that space to grieve, to reflect. But at the same time, you see his impulses kicking in, you see that unpredictability kicking in, and that makes it even more scarier for you to watch them. And the same goes with our hero Laksh, who plays the role of Amrit. He is stoic, he is well-mannered, he fights because he's trained to, but then when the switch happens, you're like, oh no. There's this dialogue which towards the climax of the film where the villain goes, "You're not a hero, you're a monster." And that's the crazy thing about this film. It does not glorify violence. It shows how much it can affect you deeply. It shows how much it can affect your psyche. It can affect how you fight, how you react to certain situations. And what was the best part about this film was that everybody is given a chance to fight in their own way. Everybody is given a chance to emote in their own way, and I'm not just talking about the hero and the villain, because of course they fight, they engage in action sequences. It's kind of their story. But I like how Putt also reserves room for other passengers to tell their story through their sequences. How, like, I remember there were these twin boys who wanted to join the army, and oops, spoiler alert. So there were these twin boys who wanted to join the army, who were really inspired by our hero's journey, but when they fight, you can actually see that they were not just preaching it out to the NSG Commando. They actually meant it. They wanted to fight. They wanted to save lives. And that was the most emotional part of the movie, that everybody who fights, there's not a single person who goes down without a fight, if that makes sense to you. So for me, I would give Kill 4.5 stars. One thing where I wish it was a little improved was the romantic bit, because I feel like it gives a really nice setup. Mind you, the film does not waste any time in getting into the action mode. I just wish that the romantic bit was handled a little delicately, and because even that bit, it kind of feels somewhat rushed, but not too much that you do not root for them, if that makes sense. So the next movie I'm going to talk about is a movie which has been highly anticipated. People have been waiting for this movie to hit the screens. I am talking about Ty West's MaXXXine. It's finally here. It's finally hit theaters. So West introduced us to 1980s Hollywood in style, with Mia Goth as Maxine Mings at the helm of affairs again. She's still recovering from her massacre in X. If you haven't checked that out, by the way, go watch that film first before you watch Maxine. Otherwise, you might not get some of the context. So where was I? Right. Ty West introduces us to 1980s Hollywood, with Maxine Mings making her striving towards her chance at stardom. And, well, she is killing it. She has secured her role into a Hollywood movie until, of course, her past comes back to haunt her. Now, the thing about this film was it had the potential of becoming something great, because it has everything from its predecessors, that is X and 4. Again, reminding you, watch those films before you get into Maxi. You might not get some of the context, or even some of the Easter eggs. So, Mia Goth as Maxine is amazing. She is confident, she shows that she is healing, she is strong, she is ready to do what it takes, and it shows in her acting as well. The way she kind of balances this exterior, confident self, this very strong self on her exterior, when in the inside she's still recovering, she's still haunted, she still has breakdowns about what happened with her and her friends at Texas during X. She balances this so well, and it shows the way she kind of flips between being someone who is suave, street smart, confident of defending herself, while at the same time she's still piecing together the broken pieces of herself. But the thing is, by the time it reaches the climax, the emotional depth which kind of sets up the film, it suddenly kind of drops. And by the time you reach the climax, you're like, oh, I called it. I knew this was the villain. So sad. And what I feel is missing from MaXXXine, and what kind of bars it to reach its potential. Because mind you, everything is spot on. The production design, the cinematography, the acting performances, not only by God, but we've got Kevin Bacon, we've got Lily Collins, we've got Giancarlo Esposito. Yes, Gustavo is also there. But what stops it from kind of turning into something great is the lack of unpredictability which was there in X and Pearl. And like I mentioned, by the time you reach the second half of the film, the emotional depth kind of drops. And the reason why you're like rooting for MaXXXine to succeed, you kind of lose interest by the time you reach the latter half of the movie. You know when the gory moments are going to come, you know there's going to be a jump scare, and you know that, oh, okay, this moment is going to be pretty scary for me, so I might as well just look away. It's there in the first half, but the second half kind of, slowly and steadily just starts to dull you out, honestly. Because had it not been those errors in the second half, then MaXXXine could have been one of the greatest slasher movies ever. So if I had to rank the X trilogy, which MaXXXine is the final part of, I would put Pearl at the top, then X, and then MaXXXine. Because Pearl, Mia Goth is unhinged. She goes all out. You don't know when the violence is gonna strike. You don't know when that gore is gonna hit you. And you're like, oh no, I did not see that coming. X, again, she's still performing as MaXXXine. She's outstanding as MaXXXine. The gore hits you the least when you expect it. And by the way, she also plays Pearl in X. So the amount of prosthetics and the way she kind of acts through those constraints and kind of embodies the constrainment of those prosthetics into Pearl, who's someone sick and tired of being told how to live and being told that, oh my god, you have to live in this box. You have to make the most of what you have. It's just amazing to see the range of Mia in that film. But MaXXXine, however, you kind of know where the story's gonna go, and you kind of know how MaXXXine's character is gonna kind of develop, and that kind of slowly and steadily makes you lose the interest in the film. But despite that, I'm gonna give the film 4 stars. Had it not been those tiny little details in the second half, I would have given a 5-star, mind you. So this last movie I'm going to talk about is another highly anticipated movie. It is promoted as the scariest movie of this year, and mind you, they did not make any mistake by saying that. Their marketing has taken the internet by storm, and hats off to Neon, or whoever made this marketing strategy should actually get a raise. Yes, I am talking about Longlegs, directed by Oscar Perkins and produced by Nicolas Cage himself. The story follows a satanic serial killer played by Nick Cage himself, who goes on this killing spree, and our heroine, Micah Monroe, is tasked to capture him, and how it kind of intertwines with her personal demons, her personal life, forms the rest of the story. And mind you, I was expecting it to be super squirmy, scary, and gory, and it was all that and even more. If you're going into this film expecting jump scares or something which comes out of the blue, you're not gonna get that. Longlegs is more cerebral when it comes to designing its horror. I mean, 90% of the film, you barely see Nick Cage's character, Longlegs. You see only his silhouette. But that is enough to send chills down your spine. The way he kind of delivers his dialogues, his very stage presence, even though there's like just a little figure of him, is just enough to scare the living daylights out of you. And the way the plot kind of progresses, I really, really like the way how they intertwined the story of Longlegs with Micah Monroe's character, that is Lee Harper's personal life, and how it kind of intertwined and formed this pattern leading up to a climax which you would least expect. Mind you, the climax is one of those moments where you're like, oh, what? The one thing, however, I have a little bit of gripe with is there are moments where it kind of uses light humor, which kind of derails the film a little and kind of increases its pacing and kind of slows down the pacing, if that makes sense. I wish the pacing just was a little bit tighter, which is why I'm gonna give this film 4 stars. But honestly, Nick Cage is fully thriving in his Killer Cage era. His depiction of Longlegs, if he doesn't get nominated for an Oscar for this role, I'm gonna riot. Mind you, I will riot. And also, it was refreshing to see Micah Monroe back on the big screen after so long. I have only seen her in Hot Summer Nights. So the way she's kind of flipped the script and become this very coy yet very determined and gifted cop, it kind of shows you how far she's come from playing this really sexy yet really cool teenage girl in Hot Summer Nights. You can check that out as well. But the way she kind of like embodies her I don't want to say insecurities, but her fears, and how she kind of channels that fear into cracking the case and finally leading up to a very emotional moment, which kind of surmises the climax. It was just a revelation to see Micah Monroe play that kind of character, because honestly, I was not expecting that from her. I definitely did not. It also makes a lot of sense when you see this very bleak production design. It is set probably in the 1980s, 1990s. Correct me in the comment section if I'm wrong. But the way they kind of use that very bleak setting in order to introduce that sense of doom, it obviously adds up a lot to the aesthetic. But the real hero out here is the screenplay, which kind of gives you those moments where you just don't want to look at the screen anymore. And there were barely any jump scares or barely any moments where you were looking away, for that matter. It was just like a frame would come on screen and you would be like, oh my god. Or even with the dialogues, especially from Longlegs, you kind of are like, hey, maybe that might be true, but if that's true, oh my god, I don't want to even like think about that ever again. So yeah, those were my reviews for Kill, MaXXXine, and Longlegs. Do check them all out at a theater near you. Don't miss the chance. You definitely don't want to miss all of these 3 films. This was my first review, so I'm still working on the scripting style. I'm still working on how I'm gonna edit this thing. So and don't forget to follow me on Instagram at KurjiPreetha01 for more such content. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, and tell me what you liked about these 3 films. And you can also follow me on Letterboxd at ThatFilmyChick for more such reviews to come out. This is Praise Perspective signing off. Bye!